Solar flares produced by the sun are a breathtaking sight, but pose a threat to life on Earth. A powerful solar storm, known as a coronal mass ejection (CME), could cause the entire globe to lose its light. A CME collided with Earth's orbit in 2012, but we were spared due to our good fortune. In 1859, another CME sent electromagnetic energy into the atmosphere, causing telegraph poles to catch fire. Electricity and technological devices are crucial to our way of life. And a solar storm of this magnitude would be far worse. In this video, we will talk about how life on Earth could be extinguished due to solar flares, asteroids, and supernovae. Let's get started. A massive explosion on the sun's surface would cause an electric shock across the Earth's upper atmosphere, preventing radio signals from traveling from Earth to satellites in space. However, it would not harm the satellites as yet. A flood of charged particles would collide with the Earth's magnetosphere, causing damage to satellites' onboard electronics. Communication techniques would become less effective. After anywhere from 12 hours to many days, a cloud of plasma would eventually impact the Earth's surface. The ACE sensor, which NASA uses to warn about impending storms, would be the first to be affected. Even with the warning, it took only around 30 minutes before the cloud in space triggered a geomagnetic storm by falling on Earth's atmosphere. The storm would liquefy the generators of our electrical grid, which would result in no visible light, the inability to charge phones or computers, and issues with the electricity supply, water supply, and social media platforms. The atmosphere of outer space is not something that can be changed by people in any way. In the event that the sun was to directly impact us, this hypothetical scenario would almost certainly come to pass. The actions that are taking place on the sun are monitored by NASA and the Space Weather Prediction Center, and their forecast for the next 3 days would have notified us if our star appeared weird if it were still present. There is a chance that we will have sufficient time to turn off the transformers and put the satellites into safe mode. It's possible that in the not-too-distant future, we'll have the technology to encapsulate the entire Earth in a bubble that will shield it from dangers such as these. 2012 was the year when many end-of-the-world prophecies predicted Nibiru would collide with Earth, bringing about the end of the world. These forecasts were developed on the basis of the notion that Nibiru would have a head-on collision with the Earth in December 2012. However, the status of the Earth's spin did not alter, and we came dangerously close to a catastrophe that occurred in July rather than in December. This event had the potential to be so powerful that it may have worked as a reset button, throwing human civilization back several decades. This possibility existed because the event had the potential to be so powerful. A coronal mass ejection, also known as a CME, is an event that takes place as a direct result of the sun expelling a sizable amount of magnetic plasma into space. It takes the sun exactly 27 days to complete one revolution around its axis. However, the various components of the sun travel around its axis at significantly different speeds. Because of this, the magnetic field of the sun twists and reforms into a distinct configuration. Variations in the geometry of the magnetic field that surrounds the sun take place around once every 11 years. These variations cause the sun to go through stages of activity, such as peaks and valleys, which are brought on by these changes. Scientists believe that solar flares have one of the highest probabilities of bringing about the end of the planet. This occurs as a result of the fact that the Earth is, in essence, revolving around a gigantic nuclear fission bomb that tumbles. The cholera epidemic that broke out in London, England in 1859 caused tens of millions of individuals to become infected with HPV and was responsible for the deaths of 10,000 people. The pandemic caused tremendous damage. However, there has been great development in technological areas, and the telegraph system is currently the only option to connect with others in another location, despite the fact that other locations are experiencing something truly weird. Recent post-apocalyptic examinations have led researchers to believe that this solar flare was the most powerful one to occur in the past few hundred years. Since then, the sun has experienced over 2,000 solar flares every 11 years on average. Solar storms can typically be divided into 5 unique groups, each of which is around 10 times more intense than the others. The intensity of the damage that is caused by a solar flare is exactly proportional to the amount of power that it emits. Solar flares that belong to the A class are among the most insignificant of all the various types of solar flares. The vast majority of the time, these flares are not very noteworthy and have an effect that is either low or non-existent on Earth. It is possible that flares from the B class, which is significantly more powerful than flares from the A class, will have some effect on radio communications and navigational instruments. The C class flares are the most common, but the vast majority of people don't give them much credence because they aren't extremely powerful. Despite this, the majority of flares are from the C class. Flares of the M class, which is substantially more powerful than flares of the C class, have the ability to interrupt a significant number of satellite communications and power systems. Flares of the C class are significantly less strong than flares of the M class. Solar flares of the most destructive variety, known as X-class flares, have the capability of obliterating all forms of electrical and communication infrastructure. On average, around 10 sun flares of the X-class are seen each year. These flares generate as much energy as 1 billion hydrogen bombs combined. Another industry that gives me pause is the dairy business. If a major solar storm were to strike today's planet, it would go dark for some of the longest periods of time recorded in the annals of the universe's history of power outages. If all of our modern technology, such as cellular phones, satellites, and the vast majority of electrical equipment failed at the same time, it would be impossible to keep order in urban areas. It would be challenging to execute transactions that require actual currency. It would be tough to delete the contents of bank accounts, and supply networks would grind to a standstill. The power would be cut to the hospitals. There might be up to 20,000 planes in the sky at any given time that dependent on GPS, and they might not be able to land. This is the portion of the damage that is the most terrible to think about happening, not the part that happens on the ground. If the power lines were not disconnected prior to the event in order to protect them from the possibility of damage, it is possible that they could have sustained injuries that were so severe that they could not be repaired. The length of time necessary for the electricity system to fully recover from the worst-case scenario, which experts think may take up to 10 years depending on the severity of the storm and the region on the globe where it makes landfall, will be determined by the severity of the storm itself and the location on the globe where it makes landfall. If a solar storm on the scale of Carrington were to strike the entire planet, the cost of repairing damaged equipment could reach up to $2 trillion or even $20 trillion. That's it for today. Please like and share our videos. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon for regular updates. Thanks for watching.